FEMA's got major problems. And look, in the 2016 flood, we saw intimately many of those, which is why we quickly, after the 2016 flood, passed the Disaster Reform Relief Act, DARA. And what we did there is we took about 20 of the lessons learned from the 2016 flood and made law changes. Everything from the Livingston Parish Sheriff going out on his own and providing housing for his deputies at probably 1/5 the cost of what it was going to cost FEMA to do it, and did it probably 6 months to a year faster, allowing him to get reimbursed instead of making him eat those millions of dollars in cost. Going out there and making sure that our schools could actually get rebuilt. FEMA was trying to come in and charge them literally $80 million in deductibles. Misreading a law, we came in, fundamentally changed it and dropped that deductible payment down to a fraction of that 80 million, allowing for schools to be rebuilt in Livingston, East Baton Rouge, and Ascension parishes. This duplication of benefits mess, where people who went out and got loans were told later they weren't eligible for grants because they already got a loan. Outrageous things. So we made a number of changes, and just within recent weeks, we've done a number of bills. One of them would say that governors had the ability to come in and say, look, we just want to check for small disasters. Don't send in your full FEMA teams and use up resources in our community like hotel rooms and food. Just send us a check and we'll do it for a lower cost. Now, one of the bills that we did that's going to be very powerful is we passed a bill out that says that FEMA will have to pay interest costs on any lingering claim. So it's not just a freebie that they just get to sit there and wait 5 years, 10 years, 15 years to actually process a claim. If they're waiting that long, there's going to be interest payments along with it. Therefore, forcing FEMA to move faster, putting some skin in the game. And importantly, for those local communities, it allows the local communities to go out and say, look, we're going to borrow money from a local bank and go ahead and fix this pump station, school, whatever it is that's needed. And then whenever FEMA comes in and finally pays them, FEMA's paying off the entire load. I believe that states need to keep a reserve fund and have a robust capability to be able to respond to disasters within their states. I don't think we should have a scenario where every time a disaster happens, you just automatically turn to the federal government. And the reason is because I think that the states and local governments need to have skin in the game. They need to be incentivized to actually invest in resiliency type projects, flood control, hurricane protection, coastal restoration type projects. I think that's really important. But the other thing that we've done is we've changed the law and we've required FEMA to look at the cumulative impact of disasters when determining if a community is eligible or not. So instead of looking at Hurricane Francine in a vacuum, instead say, well, wait a minute. In recent years, they've been hit with this flood, this hurricane, this flood, this hurricane, and understand that cumulatively, the ability of that community to respond has simply been entirely spent, or they just don't have the bandwidth to respond to that disaster, and they do need federal help. But let me say it again. I think it's really important that Congress step in and change the incentive structure. And what we could do is we could do things like say that if a state or if a parish is going to come in and invest in some hazard mitigation or resiliency, that they could actually get a higher federal cost share and have the federal government come in and pay 90% of cost or 85% of cost instead of just paying 75% as the federal government does initially.